Okay. Just very short on me, focus on the artwork instead. Thank you all so much for being here this evening. It is such a gorgeous addition to our programme. If we have an exhibition to host a few extra chats and conversations about the artworks actually in the show, because the private views are great, but they're always absolutely manic, and in a strange way you don't actually get to engage with the artworks or actually the artists behind it. And the beautiful thing that I find with ArtCan, it is our 10-year anniversary, every single time we've had that extra level of connectivity with some artwork or with an artist and their practice and process, you end up feeling a little bit more connected and a little bit more engaged with what those next steps are going to be, not just for those artists, but more confident in your own steps forward as well as an artist, knowing that you're surrounded by a brilliant community that wants to hear about you, the artist, not just what it is you're creating. So this is our 10 by 10 anniversary exhibition. It has been curated beautifully by Sandy, who's here this evening, and Dave Bowman as well. And I had a lot of fun also getting it up on the wall, so it was a really nice treat for me last Monday afternoon to get it up. And I hope you all recognise that it is such a beautiful and vibrant example of the standard that ArtCan has from its artist members. It is a really clever collection. So really looking forward to talking to some of the artists this evening, and we will start off with Pratt. Thank you.
Hi everyone, thank you for that lovely introduction, Kate. So I'm just going to take you guys through probably a little journey of the work that I've been working on for about 5 years, which I've shown quite a lot with ArtCan, which is great. This is my piece up here. It's part of a new body of work that I just simply call Space Studies, and they basically are little studies that are looking at some of my favourite images from space and the history of astronomy and astrophotography. Most of my collection, which is a little example here, are all found images that I happen to come across in charity shops or vintage fairs. Some of the main reasons I go to these places is you never know, you see like a massive box full of stuff and you like rifle through it and you find wonderful stuff like this. Little things where people have just had an encyclopedia or something and ripped a page out and just put it in a frame. Because I found it like mounted on this placard. And it happens quite a lot in like vintage fairs and charity shops. So I have to stop myself from buying them. Although I feel that I can buy them if they relate to my practice. I have quite an extensive digital collection as well of images, both pre-Hubble and Hubble images, but also the JWST telescope, which I love, which everyone loves really because the images are just absolutely stunning. And these little space studies were born out of a little project called The Colour of Starlight, which started, and I have a couple of little handouts that I can hand out, which started with a little residency I did in Italy with a group of artists called the Lumen Collective, who are very interested in art and science and interdisciplinary practice, also climate change and how science and astrophysics and astronomy in general can change attitudes and bring the world together, basically. And I had only just got my telescope, and one of those, I always laugh when I say this, because when you look through a telescope and you see like the moons of Saturn, the thing that came across my mind was, oh my god, it's real. Which completely shocked me, because I thought I'd be like, oh, wonders of space. But no, I was like, oh, it's actually real then, which was completely different reaction to what I expected. And the second thing I noticed were the amount of colours that you can see. And not just pointing at a planet, if you go, right, I want to see what's over there. And you just see, once your eyes get used to the darkness, the colours that you see are incredible, and I thought, gosh, I've got to do something about this. And this was about the time that I got accepted onto this lovely residency, which was 3 weeks in Italy in the mountains. Sounds very romantic, but it was a lot of hard work, a lot of walking. to go and use telescopes and visit working observatories, which are amazing places, and they're often manned by the most incredible, passionate scientists and engineers as well, who gladly give their time and answer any of your inane questions. I don't think any questions are inane, apart from I thought they were when I asked them. But so I really got to hone my skills of astrophotography and taking pictures of the night sky, because it's a very different process to what conventional photography is taught. You have to ignore everything. Like, it's all about capturing the tiniest amounts of light, and it takes a lot of practice. So I put together this little contact sheet of examples of pictures that I took, my favourite pictures. And as you can see, when you pass them around, all the different colours involved, not just in the different exposures, but also in the skies itself, is an incredibly, I found it incredibly satisfying and powerful, and I thought, wow, this is really cool, I can actually make a huge body of work about this. As you can see, I have. And then I thought, well, what am I going to do to harness these colours? Because I'm a bit pedantic in the fact that I really, really want to know exactly what is in a frame. I want to know the exact pixels, I want to know the colours and everything. So I used a combination of AI, which I can't take all the credit for. My lovely partner helps me out with all the data science stuff. And because we developed this AI program whereby it would combine all the pixels that are in one star to make one colour. And then you would combine all the colours into one gradient, which then I worked off. And I've got a little contact sheet here that you can look at, pass it around as well as an example. And combined with a really cool piece of software that is funded by NASA and the National Space Administration, the National Space Observatory in America, and also the European Space Agency. This is a really cool piece of software called Astrometry, where you can put any image of the night sky into the software, and it will tell you exactly what is in your photograph. That's, I know, right? So that's how I know when I say, for example, this piece is the light from the constellation Lyra. It's actually the colours from that constellation.
Sorry, what would you use for the sticks?
Oh, for this?
The colours? Yeah.
It's embroidery.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
so leading on to my next point.
Sorry.
No, it's great. So, during this time I was doing my Masters in Art and Science as well, so this all fitted in beautifully, and I continued on doing a project looking at the sounds of stars, and while this was sort of bubbling in the background. And then, you guessed it, the pandemic happened, where all of, I'm sure you were, because you guys have experienced this as well, everything seemed to go up in smoke, and all the opportunities that I had hoped to be a part of were no longer available to me. So I decided, I've always liked sewing, and I went to do my Masters at St Martin's, and a big sewing and fashion legacy, textile design, all that. So wonderful place to be inspired, and I just thought I would do that. And I thought I would continue on this project, but using embroidery, this is one of the very first pieces that I did. And this is, I custom printed this fabric, just in a print studio that was online. They were really good actually. And used a combination of the AI code that we developed, and looking at a wide variety of embroidery colours. I tried to get every colour I could possibly get my hands on to make sure that the colours were correct. And this one is not labelled, so I can't show you what it is. But it's so I didn't sign it or label it or anything, because it was one of my first ones. I didn't think anyone would want to buy it or anything. But it's one of my favourites, and it's on my wall. Because it represents quite a shift in my practice to what I was doing before. So I do love this little piece. And then I I started to feel the limitations a little bit of the embroidery, and I wanted to go back to paper because paper has always been one of my favourite mediums to work with. And I wanted to work. I loved making these, but the colours weren't directly from the AI code that we developed that took a lot of time and effort to develop. So this is what led me onto these gradients. So these gradients are created via the process colours on Photoshop, and then printed to a high quality, and then sewed into with embroidery up here. This one too. This one's got more colours because the gradient's bigger. I really quite like these arrangements, but I'm sure you can tell they take a lot of time and effort to measure up and line up and everything, so it's quite a lot. And yeah, I'm exploring more photographs, more different colour combinations. Actually, the one I'm passing around, I did pass around, this one here is one that I did last week. It's based on the constellation Hercules. There's lots of different colours.
Anna, can you pick yours up and show me? Can see them more clearly?
Yeah, sure, of course. There you go.
Because they're wonderful colours.
Thank you very much. There is a little bit of artistic license in the selection of colours, because otherwise they look a bit flat from experience. So the colours that I add, so obviously you can see that there's most of the colours that came out of this particular code were sort of green, a little bit turquoise, a little bit blue, so I added the purples. I like to kind of stick to a colour that's kind of close to some of the colours that are in there already, just so it's not quite so bold, but you get a little bit of contrast in them to make them a bit more interesting. So yeah, I've been working on these for a long, long time, and then I got a little bit. I missed working with the images directly. These like the images of space directly, because I get so much joy out of looking at them, learning about the process. My dissertation and my master's was all about imagery and how the Hubble works and how it relates to art and stuff, which is a very flippant way of describing my dissertation, but that's why I wrote it on. So then I decided to start using embroidery to work into the images, such as this guy up here and this one. And these aren't quite as specific as these ones, or labour intensive. I just sort of try and guess what the image is. Sometimes it's very obvious. That one was very easy to find, it's a very famous image. But with these found images, you don't have any explanation. So I mean, you can come up to here and it's just like, it's from a French encyclopedia, it just says images of Hubble or whatever. It doesn't tell you exactly what's in it. So there's a little bit of guesswork and a little bit more creativity in these ones, and I sort of explore a little bit more of shape and geometry, which I love. And that's where I'm at the moment with my practice. I am working on bigger ones of these. They do have a lot more of a interesting composition when they're bigger. I think so anyway. And I'm also starting to work on bigger versions of these. And I'm also starting to work on much larger scale textile pieces, which I haven't decided what I'm going to do with yet, but stay tuned. I think that's it.
Thank you.
So yeah, Kate, I managed to dig out one of my first ever prints that I showed with ArtCan, and I thought I would give it to you.
Oh.
That's quite original.
Wow! I remember it. I really do remember it. I'm not.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah.
Miranda Lopatkin, and this is my second exhibition with ArtCan, and it's really exciting actually to be part of this community and to meet some of you, and I've met quite a few people online actually already talking about work. So this is my artwork over here, it's called Remember. I think I'll start by telling you a little bit about me. Okay, so my mother was a couture dress designer, and my father was a vet who adored photography. He was always processing prints in his homemade darkroom in our bathroom, which we couldn't go in for long periods of time, which was very annoying, but also I found it fascinating, and I became his sort of apprentice. The other thing he did is he also processed his own x-rays, so I spent ages as a child just going through all these animal x-rays, and something about the light and the dark, the feeling of it, I don't know, it just completely fascinated me. Now, I'm going to delve a little bit deeper, really. So yeah, basically my love of visual arts and photography were instilled from an early age. And however sort of middle class this sounds, my parents did grow up in the East End of London, in poverty, with little opportunity handed to them. Both my parents were evacuees as young children, and they grew up with the weight and horrors, not just from losing relatives in the Blitz, but also from swarms of faraway relatives that died in the Holocaust. I was encouraged from an early age to be creative, but at the same time to never forget. Never forget the horrors, never forget that we are lucky, never forget to be grateful, never to forget to enjoy the life that we're lucky enough to live. And as a child, I took the weight of this heavily. My parents were born of a generation trying to make sense of the brutality of humankind. In a sense, I felt like a memorial candle, always remembering, and in a sense I still do. Somehow growing up, I felt almost between worlds, between a Jewish world, more cultural than religious, but also my secular world, where my friends and my teachers were from diverse backgrounds. And the feeling of being in between is really important for my process and my themes. So my work often feels a bit like a crossfade between a film, like in a film, so when it's moving from one scene to the other, and I try to capture a slightly ethereal image where the passing of time is sort of happening. I work with 35mm slide projectors. Sometimes I project onto people. I work a lot with models, or this one actually isn't projected onto a model. This is actually taken with two slides projected onto each other. So I took this original slide, and the other one is from my vast archive I've got lots of old images on slides. I actually have, I might go into my archives later. I've got some really special archives that I work with. So what I do is I layer up my images with or without a person, and then I re-photograph everything with a digital camera. So this sort of process of old and new, time passing, is sort of integral not just to my themes, but to my process, my way of working as well. So in the final image, hopefully there's that sort of merging. So the other thing I'm interested in is memory. You can probably tell from where I'm talking about memory and trace, and also the way our memories can sort of play tricks on us. Merging sort of our own memories with other memories, or just completely changing them. As the youngest of four sisters, I'm the youngest by 14 years, so there's a big gap. I have three older sisters that just had their whole childhood, just the three of them. And I used to look at the photos, and I somehow, when I was young, I didn't really understand this, and I thought that was my childhood too. Or I imagined I was at the park playing with them that day, I just wasn't in the photo. I sort of remembered that, that time when my grandparents were around. And it only took me till I was older to realise that was a whole other world that I was not part of, but my brain was tricking me, and I found that really interesting, and I kept looking into that, and how I think a lot of people do that. When I started looking into the way we memorialise things or have memories, or how we memorialise something as a society, we sort of can tap into memories that we didn't have.
Yeah.
So, in this particular picture, remember, I've been looking at ritual as a way to mark an event. So the glow of the candles transferring onto the hand, highlighting a way to pass light on almost. And how do we remember and how do we pass things on? So many cultures use candles as a way to mark a new time, a new event, a new change. Fire, light, and darkness make something special. From birthday candles to religious lighting of candles to memorial candles. it's something almost quite universal. Before studying for my MA in Fine Art, which was also at St Martin's, did feel like you were analysis. So I actually studied theatre and performance at Warwick University, and performance has become quite a big part of my artwork. It somehow has logically transferred. So although I'm not performing in a live way, I feel like my pictures are trying to tell a story frozen in time. You get that one moment, that element. The action is, just still, but it's the action's happening, and you can make your own story from it and continue it, or go back as you wish. That's cool.
That's amazing. Wow. I think you've just actually articulated exactly what we all know we've done, but haven't actually sort of realised, or have realised it, but not really recognised that it's a universal thing, in the fact that I know for a fact I've looked at family photos and they have generated a sense of memory of that moment, which actually I wouldn't have been old enough to actually have enhanced that package around that particular episode. But as it must be amazing to delve into that whole concept a little bit more and sort of explore it through the medium of visuals as well, and that sort of layering and So you were going to explain about your archive, because I think it sounds amazing.
I have got an amazing archive. So I've got various archives. One is I have a familial archive. So my dad took hundreds and hundreds of 35mm and medium format slides. So I have those. I have ones I've taken, but also I'm lucky enough to have the National Portrait Gallery slide library at my house. So I do some work with them. So I had some work in an exhibition there, and I loved going back to look at all the slides. And then one day they were all in bin bags. And a very upset looking spider librarian. And she said that they're digitising.
Oh,
so they're just going to chuck them all. So I just said, hang on a minute.
Wow.
Let me see if I can I take them? Can I have them? And I thought they were definitely going to say no.
If they were taken to the bin, then
they were taken to the bin. Yeah. So I asked, and various levels of authority went through, and so I have them. My only rule is I can't print them and sell them as they are, but I can change in certain ways and and
you are that custodian.
manipulate. And in fact, one of them, they put one of them in an exhibition that I'd used to manipulate one of their photos with one of my photos, and so. But I don't really manipulate online. I do it all through projection.
Yeah.
I don't really use Photoshop.
But then do you not then feel more connected, because the projection is often of a similar size to you as a human too, so you are actually pulling out those characters and those personalities through what you're projecting, because it's very person orientated, but then you're part of their story in that process, and then they've got that finished piece.
Yeah,
it's
a
really
good
fascinating.
point. Yeah, I do feel that there's a connection, and also it's dancing around almost in front of me. There's something you can almost.
But then it becomes the theatre that you were then also exploring, because you are one of the marionettes in that sort of way.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, it's amazing. Do you have a room so we can all come and see your archive? Like,
it's so many. I don't know. I can't remember how many there are, but yes.
What a beautiful thing to have.
I have more than drawers. I moved house recently. That was interesting, taking one of them. But yeah, so I have I was going to say one more thing about the projector. One of the projectors I use is my dad's old projector from the 1950s.
Oh, amazing.
And it's still got the original bulb in it, and I'm using it until it grows. But at the moment, and it gives such a yellow, warm glow that you do not get in contemporary bulbs.
No.
So there's almost a time limit on this, so I'm trying to get as much out of it as I can. But that's very much this sort of golden glow.
the sound of the projector is incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing. That was
Yeah.